Why do we run from ourselves? Why do we run from who we know we really are? Now, this can be spiritually or personally. This can be introversion or a lack of extroversion and action in the world, or action based off who we feel like we should be. And I'm talking about below the surface of what society demands of us. I'm talking about who our personal relationship to ourselves, our personal relationship to our idea of our destiny, or even if you don't believe in destiny, our idea of goals, both small and large. And why do we run from what we know we intrinsically are? There's many reasons for this. There are many, many reasons for this. But I want to talk about a few of them. So, as an individual, as a sentient being, why do we run from ourselves? Now, the first reason I like to discuss is we fear. We fear that we will be rejected by others. Now, being rejected by other people in society is very connected to us as human beings. We're very social animals. We want to have a connection to those around us and to those who we exist with. Because nobody, well, not nobody, but very few of us truly exist alone, completely reliant upon ourselves. Even if we provide for ourselves by working a job, there are a whole bunch of different services that are only provided if you pay for them with the money that you made from a job, which has to do with a whole bunch of different systems put in place that allow you to make that exchange, whether it be for the energy bill, the fact that you make money in a job, which is one system, and then you can pay an energy company to give you power to light your house. That requires another system that accepts that money, and then there's a whole government, a federal system in the United States that has to back up that money. So there are many systems that we work within to exist as we do as human beings. So, and we all know that subconsciously, even if we don't think about it like that consciously. So, being rejected by others for pursuing something that we feel we are, that may be out of the mainstream, may not be what normal people believe or what most people think we can do, pursuing that, it feels like there are a lot of systems that could reject us because of it. That we could go down a hole of personal endeavor and not see anybody on the way up or down, depending on your viewpoint. But fear of rejection keeps us in line. It keeps us obeying the law. It keeps us operating the systems and making money and exchanging the money for services or goods that are supported by other systems. It keeps us in that, well, I don't want to say wage slavery because that's a little too socialistic for this video, but it's the idea of wage slavery. That we work in order to buy the services and goods that we need as human beings, and that this is a endless cycle until we die, basically. So there are many, subconsciously, even if we don't recognize it consciously, there are many systems in which we rely on, and to be rejected and to be operate beyond that system, those systems, and to kind of do our own thing, will cause fear in you. And even if your dream is to be a great accountant, is to be a great secretary or something like that, we don't often view others as accepting our dreams. The average person does not view what they really want to do, what they really want to be, as something that is feasible to other people, because most people are simply insecure on some level and to some magnitude. And this insecurity keeps us from pursuing who we really believe we are, because it's out of line with what has been expected of us up to that point by our family, society, friends, community. It doesn't matter. Usually a dream is something beyond what one is or what one has done up to that point. So we fear that rejection. Now, another point I'd like to get into has to do with self-training. First point is fearing rejection of our dream from others. The second point is lack of knowledge for self-training. Now, a lack of knowledge for self-training basically means, and I know there's a glare, by the way, that's kind of unavoidable, but getting back to the point. A lack of knowledge for self-training means that when we have a dream, no matter what dream that is, and we're not that yet, and we might not be to a point, even if we're being educated for that dream, that we're actually pursuing our dream, we're not to the point where we can actually perform and be in that dream. And the crazy thing is, even whenever we achieve one dream, we come up with another one higher and higher. If that's in a particular career path, or if that's a spiritual goal, is entirely up to the person. If that's a political goal, it's entirely up to the person. But a lack of knowledge for self-training basically means that people don't work towards their dreams, or they run from themselves because they don't have the proper knowledge. Now, there's that old adage that knowledge is power, but it is true. Knowledge is power, and we aren't born and we are not always given knowledge with which we can become who we want to become. If it's a spiritual goal, we don't know enough about God, obviously when we're born, but as an individual who hasn't reached a certain point to where we have a platform to get closer to God. If we don't have that platform, if we don't have a complete religious understanding or spiritual understanding, then it's harder to reach God. And developing that requires gathering knowledge from books, from priests, from rabbis, from imams, from Brahmins, from monks, and reading lots of books, of course, like I said, scriptures, ancient scriptures, working in those paths, meditating, praying. All of these things are incorporated into knowledge. And I'm just talking about the spiritual slash religious side of it right now. And if we don't have the willpower to gain that knowledge, to work towards that knowledge and grasp it, if we don't have if we're not confident in the means to gain that knowledge, then that can inhibit our progress along the spiritual path that we have chosen. If we don't know what scriptures to look to, if we don't know what books to buy, if we don't know even what religion to be a part of, or which religion we believe has the best explanation that we have evaluated and assessed as what we believe, or developed our own spiritual beliefs, kind of like I have, and kind of made our own net understanding of reality. If we don't have those things, it can inhibit our working towards whatever that dream is, if it's a spiritual / religious journey that our dream is a part of. Now, if we're talking about so we discussed the one spiritual subsection of lack of knowledge for self-training. Now, the second one is societal. The second one is societal. The second subsection of lack of knowledge for self-training is, and all training is to a certain extent self-training. Even if somebody is literally training you like they're a trainer, you have to adapt to that training and train yourself. You have to understand, you have to work through the knowledge after you understand it, and be consistent with it. So, in a way, everything that we do, as far as training goes, has a major, if not the most, an element of self-training. But the societal self-training, maybe we don't have the education that we need. Maybe we're working on it and we're not confident in it. Maybe we don't have enough money for education. Maybe we don't know even how to become, let's say, a lawyer. Maybe we have no idea how to become a lawyer. We just know we want to be one because we like the discussions they have. We like the intricacies of the laws. But if somebody doesn't know how to start the process, if somebody doesn't have the money to start the process, then it's extremely difficult, and that can be an obstacle. If you don't have the willpower, again, willpower is the vital component to this. If you don't have the willpower to break through that, to seek and seek and seek, then you won't become a lawyer, if that's your dream. If you want to become a politician because you're very passionate about topics like helping the poor or trying to get enough medical care for everyone who deserves it, who just doesn't have access to it. If you're passionate about things like that but don't know how to become a politician, then that can stand in your way. And it comes down to resources that other people provide to you, which is a tiny degree, especially in first world countries and third world countries, is a very, very big degree as far as resources provided for you. And then, but the majority of it in most countries that are first world is a lack of willpower. So willpower breaks through those obstacles and gets you to seek enough to where you find. Now, there are further reasons why we run from ourselves, but I'd like to go over just one more with, of course, its subsections. So the second reason we run from ourselves is lack of knowledge for self-training. And that can be, if that's an obstacle that we can't overcome, but we don't have the will to overcome, then it can stop us from becoming what we feel or know we must be. Now the last one is probably the most, I guess you could say, profound of them. Number 3 is looking at our flaws is painful and requires strength. In beautiful handwriting. Truly looking at ourselves, evaluating ourselves. And this is what we must do if we're going to accomplish the greatest things we want to achieve. Truly looking at ourselves for who we are. Taking in all the factors that other people tell us, that we see for ourselves, and also examining our own mental processes and our motivations, and what part of us is selfish, what part of us is virtuous. Examining all these things is painful, and it's not physically painful, it's psychologically painful because we have so many flaws. Every single person has so many flaws, and there'll always be flaws until we address them, until we really look at them and then evaluate them and make a step-by-step, small steps to big steps, process to overcome these flaws, to work past them into our dream. But let's say I'm an alcoholic. To really look at how much I drink, really looking at drinking every day, and then seeing how much money I spend and seeing how much of my time is spent drinking, that is it's a painful realization, and it's a painful realization for a lot of people. And the first step to any of this is looking at the problems, at the flaws that you see in yourself beyond what your ego tells you, it's not as bad as you think, or things like that, so you don't have to change. Don't listen to your ego. Choose to develop past what your ego tells you is okay. and it has to do with not just things that you consume. It has to do with your personality traits. If you're too dominating in a relationship or just with people in general, your ego will say, "Well, this is how I gain recognition. This is how people act." But you have to work in order to become a person that everybody wants to be around. You have to work past that and realize that, okay, maybe I should try to be nicer to people. Maybe I should try to not cut them off, maybe in sentences. Maybe I should not be so forceful and make intimidating eye contact when I'm speaking to people. Just things like that. But an entire half of working past the flaws towards your dream is recognizing the problems. And that's an old adage, but it's true. And then the other half is the willpower to change. And the willpower to change is honestly the hardest part for me. Sometimes, for a lot of people, it's recognizing the problem. For me, it's the willpower to change, because I can recognize problems in me, and I see a lot of them. But the willpower to change has always been the hardest part for me. And but looking at yourself, it's funny, because I actually went over willpower before I went over acknowledging the problem. But I think that was for a reason. Willpower is something that everybody understands, really. But recognizing problems within oneself, if you're not really spiritual, and if you're not really philosophical, or if you're not really psychologically knowledgeable in your mental processes, then that is the hardest part. Willpower has everything to do with not dwelling on the little things that you get caught up in, or not being able to do this or that. It has everything to do with making minute, tiny steps. Like, I'm going to drink one less beer this day if you're an alcoholic, or I'm going to do one other college project this day that I didn't have to do till later, but I'm going to get it out of the way right now and do it well, in order to become whatever you're going to be through college. Or you can be like, okay, I have this assignment to do at work, this cleaning, if you're going to clean a whole room, and I'm going to do it one day ahead of time so I can get it out of the way. Putting up your schedule for when you do things, and making the tiny goals in a line and accomplishing them one at a time is a very effective way to initiate willpower towards achieving your dream. No matter what it is, it's always the tiny goals. That's what willpower is. That's how you accomplish things through willpower. Unless you're like a very willful person, you don't need the tiny goals. Just shooting for that one goal, and everything gets accomplished based on that one goal. And that's somebody with a very strong will. But and recognizing the problem, I could go on and expound on that all day. Spirituality and philosophy and even politics has taught me to examine myself, and that's a whole topic by itself. But I really hope that you have seen a little bit of how we run from ourselves, how we as humans look at ourselves and are not able to look at ourselves, do and can't do, or don't desire to do, really, deep down, because we don't like to change. I hope that this has helped you to see a little bit of how you can help yourself in your life and work towards your dream. And I would just like to end by saying, don't run from yourself. Look at who you are, what you're doing, and make a plan to change. And perpetual change and progress is the only way your dream will be accomplished and then increased many manifold. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day and a great life.